Today we're looking at the 20 rudest cities in the US. We did a top 10 video on this about 3 years ago, and people flooded me with comments and emails. I found everyone's opinion fascinating. They all thought their city deserved to be on the list, and one man felt Terre Haute, Indiana should be on the list because his ex-wife lived there. He said she left him because he had a hard time finding a job for over 7 years. I got that email like 2 years ago. I hope he's still not looking. Obviously, their comments and these videos are based on opinions and stereotypes. There is no stat related to being rude. If there was, I am sure it would be related to the frequency of the middle finger in traffic. So, we're looking at what 20 cities have the rudest people. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 20, Providence, Rhode Island. Yeah, I could totally see this one. There's some rude motherfuckers there. Every time I personally have been to Providence, Rhode Island, which has only been about 5 times, I've had someone treat me rude. I was looking for the entrance to the city hall in Providence one time, and I asked a guy who had a lanyard on. He obviously worked there. I asked him which way the entrance was because they had a giant Christmas tree on the steps of what I thought should be the entrance. He looks at me and goes, "I don't know, walk around till you find it." He never even stopped. It wasn't even pleasant. He said it like I totally annoyed him. There was a survey done where they asked people all kinds of strange questions, just random ones. One of the questions was, do you like talking to strangers? The national average was 4 out of 10 say no, they don't like talking to strangers. Rhode Island, which Providence takes up a majority of the state, it was 8 out of 10. Number 19, Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles, California is really strange, and I have a little more insight to this one than I'd say a lot of people because I grew up there in one of the suburbs. There are some neighborhoods and some suburbs that are absolutely rude. They're just filled to the brim with people that think they're better than you. They have no time for you if you're not driving the right car or wearing the right clothes. That is a big thing in Los Angeles. But I will tell you one thing that I swear by. Some of the worst neighborhoods, you will find some of the nicest people that would invite you in for a barbecue off the street. Sure, usually in those neighborhoods, you gotta worry you're going to be killed someplace, but that's everywhere. Even though they're bad neighborhoods, a vast majority of people in those neighborhoods are just wonderful people. Now, where the rudeness comes in are the places like on the west side of LA, where you'll find Santa Monica, Venice, Pacific Palisades, Malibu. Of course, Beverly Hills, they're just rude to no end there. Then a little bit outside of Los Angeles metro area, you'll find Calabasas, which are some of the rudest I've ever met in my life. You also have Manhattan Beach, which is horrible. They're all rude there. That's definitely the area of where I grew up, the South Bay, where if you weren't driving the right car, you're obviously a loser. And they will treat you rudely. But then you have the road rage situation. The traffic in California, and especially Los Angeles, is so bad that you will find nothing but angry, rude people in traffic. Again, that could be anywhere, but it seems to be a bigger thing in Los Angeles in my experience. And of course, you run into the average wannabe actor or model whose career isn't working out for them. They're always rude. Number 18, Dallas-Fort Worth. I've seen multiple surveys that have said Dallas is very rude. Usually they tack Fort Worth onto there, but most of the time they're really focusing on Dallas. In my experience, though, I found the people of Fort Worth to be far more abrasive than Dallas. Now, all of Texas has that southern hospitality. They're good people, but I think Texas is changing and it's outsiders that are moving in that are usually the ones you're going to find to be rude. Then, of course, you have some longtime Texas and Dallas residents that are probably rude because they're tired of dealing with newcomers. Prices are rising. Real estate's getting out of control in the Dallas metro area. So they got an axe to grind, and I think it's starting to show, and I think that's why they're showing up on more and more surveys about rude places to live. I recently found out I was being charged every single month for an editing program I stopped using almost a year ago. 11 months. Kinda stings. Well, today's sponsor, Rocket Money, is here to help. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. I'm using Rocket Money to cancel unwanted subscriptions. It safely and securely identifies reoccurring charges and cancels unwanted subscriptions for you. You can even cancel from within the app. Just a couple of taps, no need to worry about customer service calls. I used to work customer service. I'd get these calls every single day. Sometimes people forgot about something for 2 or 3 years. I also use Rocket Money to lower my bills. I can upload a photo of my bill, tap a few buttons, and Rocket Money will negotiate my bill for me. from internet services to cable and phone bills. Simple. Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/Briggs or click the link in the description area below to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features with premium. That's rocketmoney.com/Briggs to get started for free. All right, back to the video. Number 17, Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore is a really strange city. It's one of the oldest cities we have, and I don't know, maybe they're at that old man stage where they're just angry, get off my lawn type thing. Maybe cities get, angrier with age. Who knows? I've mentioned this before, but 4 times that I've been to Baltimore, at some point in my stay there, I've seen someone standing in the middle of the street screaming at something, not anyone right in front of them or a car going by. They're just screaming about something in the middle of the street. Not off to the sidewalk, not in between cars that are parked. They're standing like on the dotted line that separates traffic and they're screaming at something. Now, it's not rude as much as it's kind of crazy, but still, it puts a bad taste in your mouth when you visit the place. While visiting Baltimore, you have a higher than average chance of being shot, and a lot of people would consider being shot as being treated rudely. I mean, that goes down as one of the top things for I was treated rudely there because somebody shot me. That's in my little book I have. And that's right above they threw a tangerine at my face because I used the name they had when they used to be a man. On that situation, before you throw the tangerine at me, give me a heads up. Let me know when you're wearing a dress, don't call you Ryan, and I'm okay with it. But there's all kinds of problems that lead to Baltimore being considered a rude city. A lot of it has to do with personal safety, and that just kind of translates to everyone's rude there and things like that. So it's the crime, it's the people, all of it put together makes Baltimore a rude city. Number 16, Washington, D.C. Well, Washington, D.C. and Baltimore are really close, so I think a lot of that kind of bleeds into each other. They're the same type of people. And yes, Washington, D.C. is very dangerous too. It's not just the politicians trying to screw up your life, it's the people that rob you at gunpoint. And in most people's opinion, you got a better chance of being robbed by the guys that were elected and wearing suits. But the rudeness of Washington, D.C. goes far beyond that. It's the traffic situation, and I'm sure the cost of living there and housing plays a big part of it. There's a survey they do every single year, where they ask people in different states and different cities if they think the next 5 years will be worse than the last 5 years. They also think, is this year better than last year? For 20 straight years, Washington, D.C. says the next 5 years will be worse than the last 5, and they think every single year is getting worse than the one before. But the people of Washington, D.C. are definitely considered rude. I mean, we're talking about a city that for around 80 years thought it was perfectly acceptable to have a football team called the Redskins. I think it's dumb we're having to change a lot of the different football names, and I don't agree with a lot of them. That one I agree with. That one was straight up rude. If you get a chance, look up Chris Rock talking about the Washington Redskins. It's worth a watch. Number 15, Orlando, Florida. Their rudeness is just about tourism. I mean, tourists come to a place and they're just rude to everyone. They act like they own the place and it pisses off the locals. So the locals are rude because of that. And then tourists are just rude no matter where they come from. So this gives Orlando a really bad reputation for having rude people. I mean, this is a city that sees almost 70 million tourists every single year. So it's completely understandable. And they're in a tough situation because, I mean, on one hand, they need the tourists because almost everyone in the Orlando area works for some kind of tourist attraction or someone they know works for one. I mean, that's the biggest part of their economy. So they hate the tourists, but they need the tourists. So you're angry, you're rude, it's just going to happen. Number 14, San Francisco, California. You know, a lot of people say that San Francisco is one of the most romantic cities on the planet. They rank it right up there with Paris and Venice, Omaha, you know, all the great cities of romance. But I just don't see it. I've been to San Francisco many times, and one thing I remember from the city is not romance. It's actually feeling like I got a leg workout just walking around the city. Everything seems to be uphill in that place. And of course, nothing says romance like watching a homeless dude drop a deuce underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. The people people of San Francisco are rude, and they're rude for a few different reasons. One, the cost of living, the cost of housing is making them angry. They've got a bad reputation, and they've got problems everywhere. But in reality, they've always been kind of rude, and it was kind of that snobbish rude, even before everything went crazy and got terribly expensive and the homeless started growing like mushrooms. But yes, the people of San Francisco are rude. Number 13, Houston, Texas. Yeah, you know what? Of all the cities in Texas, I think Houston is actually the rudest of all. This is one of those ones that I got a lot of emails about. One man said they're just mean and they're just rude in Houston. That same guy said the love of his life moved to Houston one time. He said after about 3 months of living there with her, she said she loved it in Houston. That's when he knew it was time to break things off. Yeah, whenever you talk about rude places to live, angry people, Houston always shows up on those lists. Number 12, Bloomington, Indiana. You know, you never hear much about Bloomington, Indiana, but apparently it's a pretty nasty place to live as far as the people go. If you don't know where Bloomington, Indiana is, it is between Indianapolis and French Lick, Indiana. Yeah, it's a real place, French Lick. But by all accounts, the people in Bloomington, Indiana are kind of rude. One person said, everyone in Bloomington, Indiana seems like they're going through a really bad breakup. Number 11, Anchorage, Alaska. Anchorage, Alaska has a lot of problems. Rude people is probably one of the lesser problems they have. I mean, high crime, poverty, it's freezing cold, random wildlife encounters, and of course this is a cold weather place. Lack of sun and cold weather really put people in a sour mood. It's that vitamin D, you're just not getting enough. And if you have vitamin D, your mood is better. But part of the reason Anchorage seems so rude is residents tend to keep quiet and keep to themselves, and this might make people feel they're being treated rudely. If you get a chance, go visit Anchorage. I've been there a few times in my life. I could see how they could be rude. I mean, I didn't have any major problems with anyone, but yeah, they seem kind of standoffish. Number 10, Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, this one's easy. If you've ever been to Chicago, you know they're kind of rude. Even though they're in the Midwest, Chicago isn't in the Midwest, even though it is in the Midwest. It's hard to explain. Chicago is a cold and unforgiving city. And if you don't feel it in your skin, you'll feel it in your encounters with the locals. So you got cold weather, you got a lot of poverty, you got to worry about crime there in a big way, and of course they see about 1.7 million visitors every single year. That's just the tourists. Any place that has too many tourists really put a sour feel to a place. The locals just don't like it. We talked about that earlier with Orlando. Number 9, Seattle, Washington. There's a thing in Seattle called the Seattle Freeze, where the locals don't like to meet new people, and it's really hard to make friends in Seattle. It's like they're known for this. I mean, if you type in right now to Google Seattle Freeze, you will find all kinds of stories and websites on it and videos all about the Seattle Freeze. There's a few reasons for this. Some speculate that the origin is the reserved personality of the city's early Nordic and Asian immigrants. You also got the emotional effects of climate, which they call seasonal affective disorder, and some think it's the region's history of independent-minded pioneers. Either way, if you move to Seattle, I promise you will feel you're being treated rudely. Number 9, Phoenix, Arizona. Now this is the opposite of Anchorage and Seattle. They got plenty of sunshine, but these people are still rude. I've been there more times than I can remember, and yeah, I've seen it. It's a thing. Probably has to do with all the snowbirds coming down there screwing up their city. The locals really don't like it, even though the snowbirds are a serious part of the economy in the Phoenix area. It's also extremely hot a good portion of the year, so, that puts people in a bad mood. And when you're almost melting every single day, yeah, you're going to be a little rude to people, I'm sure. Number 7, Detroit, Michigan. So I think this one's a little unfair. Detroit is very much a blue-collar city that has seen some rough times. They've got a chip on their shoulder, a well-deserved chip on their shoulder. They're good people normally, in my experience. I know quite a few people from Detroit. They're just very down-to-earth. They have no tolerance for BS. They don't like fake people, and if they pick up that you're being kind of fake, they've got no time for you, and that can be considered rude. It's just the way it is in Michigan. and especially in Detroit. My suggestion, if you're talking to someone in Michigan, or especially Detroit like I'd said, make sure you get to your point, don't add a lot of fluff to your conversations, and definitely don't exaggerate or BS people. That's not how they do it in Detroit. That being said, Detroit does show up on a lot of lists where they're talking about rude people. Number 6, Miami, Florida. Now, a lot of people brought this one up also, and the big deal is they're just rude and they're snobby. I've experienced quite a bit of this whenever I've been to Miami. They are rude. They're snobby. Much like California and Los Angeles, they look down their nose at everyone. It's a bit of a stereotype, but it's kind of true. There's a TikTok page that this guy does in Miami where he tries to pick up on very attractive girls in Miami. And they turn him down, and they kind of look at like he's insane. Then he walks over and gets in like his $400,000 car, and they change their tune. Kind of sums up what's going on in parts of Miami. Number 5, Boston, Massachusetts. This one is no surprise to anyone that's ever been to Boston. They're kind of rude. There's a few reasons for this. Like I said earlier, it's an older city and they tend to be a little more abrasive, especially on the East Coast. Throw in that accent they got, and outsiders may feel like they just don't like them. It's the way they talk. It's their mannerisms. Watch the comedian Bill Burr. He's from just outside of Boston in Canton. That guy's telling you jokes that'll make you laugh, but at the same time, he seems like he's a total a-hole. Boston's just a weird place when it comes to the personality of its residents. I'm sure a little of their anger comes from living in a place that's extremely expensive to live in, both rent, housing, cost of living. Beer is terribly expensive there. So no wonder everyone thinks Boston is rude. Number 4, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia is called the city of brotherly love, and it's a lie. One of the biggest lies that's been perpetrated on the American public ever. Philadelphia is not the city of brotherly love. And I think that makes people that have never lived there think that it is a nice place and everyone's super friendly. They're not. Years ago, I was in Philadelphia and I saw a couple having a slap fight. Actually, she was the only one doing the slapping. This was in the luggage area, where you wait for your luggage. Something happened, and she just starts slapping this dude. He took about 6 or 7 good slaps before he put his hand out to kind of push her away. And she starts yelling, "Now you're going to assault me?" And when the police came up, she starts in on, "He just assaulted me," and they handcuffed him right away. I thought it was over. A friend I was traveling with saw the rest. They started hearing what the people around said. They took the cuffs off him and went over and cuffed her with the same pair of handcuffs. I think that's kind of rude. But Philadelphia is known for being a little rude. I mean, they're right across the river from New Jersey, so I'm sure a lot of that is rubbed off. If you know anything about New Jersey, that's like the king of rudeness. Number 3, Las Vegas, Nevada. Vegas is known around the world for so many things. Not all those things are good things. I used to notice that whenever I went on a trip or something, I would, tell my grandmother about it. We'd talk about the trip or whatever I was on. And every time I went to Vegas, I had nothing I wanted to tell her about. I think a lot of the problems and a lot of the illusion that Las Vegas is rude is from the tourists. There's so many tourists there. So many tourists come to Las Vegas and just think it's this Wild West and you can do whatever you want. You can treat people how you want. And I think that's where this illusion of rudeness comes from. I don't think it's that rude. I think the residents there are about tired of all the tourists, but again, like Orlando and so many other places, they're stuck with them. That's what keeps this city's lights on. And they got a lot of lights. So I think this one's not really justified. I think it's the tourist is where people get the vibe from on this one. I have a friend who, she's worked in Las Vegas for decades. When I did my very first YouTube video, she reached out to me and thought it was funny because she knew it was kind of a joke. I did on Las Vegas. She said the one thing you need to add is every out of city or out of state businessman thinks if you're a female in there, you're a working girl. She was a bartender. She would be solicited every shift at least once. It's things like that that just make you think the city's rude. Number 2, New York City, New York. Yeah, obviously. I mean, this is a no-brainer. New York City didn't invent the middle finger as an insult, but they perfected it. You got so many people living on top of each other, it's going to drive some people crazy. If you live there long enough, you're kind of used to it and you just kind of go with the flow. And the flow is usually kind of rude and abrasive. New people that move there, they can't believe what their experience a lot of times. And it's not that the city's huge or amazing, it's how the people are. What is really strange about New York City and the people being rude is they've embraced it. They take a little pride in how rude they are. They talk a little louder, they get a little closer when they talk, their hands are moving a lot more. If you don't have a thick skin, never even consider moving to New York City. I mean, there's a whole lot of reasons you should, keep in mind before you think about moving to New York City. But if you can't take insults and you can't stand aggressive people, it's not a good place for you. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There is a link for that channel down below. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Newark, New Jersey. Yes, not too far from New York City, you got Newark. Newark is home to a lot of things, including the absolute worst airport I've ever had to fly into. I've heard it's gotten better over the last couple of years, but Newark Liberty International Airport is a nightmare. I will be flying in there in September. I'll tell you how it was then. I was giving my luggage to a guy out, the guys that grab your luggage out front, and I was kind of looking around. I was a little confused. The guy's all, I wasn't sure if he called me sir or stupid, the way he said it really fast. But then after he said it like third time, I'm all, he's playing some game where he's calling me stupid and making it sound like he's saying sir. It was really irritating. I gotta admit, I looked a little stupid. I was looking around. I was a little confused what was going on. But come on, you don't call customers stupid. Kind of remind me of that thing from, if you've never seen the movie Super Troopers, when they say meow instead of now. But that's what this guy was doing, and that's just typical of someone from New Jersey, especially Newark. So there you have it. Newark, New Jersey is the rudest city in the United States, according to you guys. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.